the drugs, and the gang violence. We got in a severe 4-car accident, switching schools every year. I wanted so badly for my parents to split. I wished for it every single day. Hello guys, how are you? How are you doing? How are you feeling? I'm going to do this video as fast as I possibly can because the story of my life at the end of the day is a very long one. I'm going to do this very matter-of-factly, little to no comments. I'm just going to go straight for it, tell you the trajectory of my life up until now. If you have any questions at the end of this video, feel free to leave them down below. There's way more to this video to my life and I don't mind sharing. I decided to do this more of a story time style because if I were to do the story of my life through a Draw My Life, it would be way too complicated, way too many little details that I don't know how I would explain through a Draw My Life. So this is how I'm doing it. I'm just doing a story time, story of my life. Let's go. The doctor said my mom wouldn't be able to have any more children after my 2 older brothers, which made her cry because she so badly wanted to have a little girl. Fortunately for her, and to everyone's surprise, she got pregnant with me. I was born through a C-section on September 15, 1993 in Barcelona, Venezuela. My mom was a dentist, my dad was a lawyer, and we had a big house where we housed a bunch of different pets at a bunch of different times. A wiener dog, a macaw bird, a crab, a tortoise, and an iguana. My brothers and I went to a Catholic nun school. We had huge family Christmases with our 50+ family members, and everything made sense until I was about 5 years old, when my parents realized the president was planning on ruining the country. So we moved to Jacksonville, Florida. It was my first time on a plane, and we flew into Miami, Florida, stayed in a hotel, then stayed in another hotel in Jackson, Florida when we got there before finding a little house. With the help of Leapfrog and a private school, I quickly learned English and was top of my class, winning spelling bee awards, math awards, computer skills awards, and many more. We lived in a small house, but we had a community pool where I had my first birthday party with friends. Almost 2 years went by, and my dad had created a website named Auntie Chavez. I didn't know it then, but because of the success of this website, he received death threats from political criminals who emailed him saying they knew where his kids went to school, where him and my mom went to work, and where we all lived. Faster than I could keep up with, my parents sold all of our furniture and packed 2 cars full of our belongings in order to hit the road towards Canada. We drove along the east coast of the States until we got in a severe 4-car accident on the highway in South Carolina. A car made a sudden stop, making a family van crash into it. Then my dad's van with my dad, my middle brother, and myself in it. And finally my mom's car with my mom and my oldest brother on board. It was the first time we all wore seatbelts. My dad suffered neck and knee injuries and my mom fractured a finger, but other than that we were all safe. The cars were totaled and we lost everything inside of them. When police arrived at the scene, the car that caused all of this was unoccupied. The driver had taken off. To this day, we wonder if it was a premeditated attempt by the political criminals. When police advised my dad to go to the hospital, he said he had to stay with his family. Since we had family in North Carolina, they came to pick us up and we stayed at their house for a couple days to recover. With no money or belongings, we were back on the road about a week later in a rental, Canada bound once again. We finally arrived to our destination 2 days later, Montreal, Quebec. My family was welcomed into a YMCA refugee shelter, where we stayed for a couple months before moving into an old, small apartment. I went to a public school where I struggled to learn French. I don't remember much, but after being pushed around by an older, bigger, male bully, my parents switched me to a Catholic school. At this school, everyone looked at me differently. I was one of the very few visible minorities, making me an easy target to anyone I met. Even younger kids made fun of me. I tried to cope by creating an imaginary friend. Classmates would run away if I tried talking to them, steal from me, and ridicule me just for not being able to speak French. Until one day, I came home bawling my eyes out to my mom, begging for her to switch me schools. By this point, the switch made sense because we had moved to a bigger apartment in a different part of town. So off I went to my 3rd French school, where I was finally accepted and able to make friends despite being held back a grade. They didn't know that. As a 5th grader, I had my first and second boyfriend. Just when I thought I found my place, after switching schools every year for 3 years, my parents noticed the drugs and the gang violence in our neighborhood. Yep. We moved again, this time to Kitchener, Ontario. Back in a Catholic school, my parents were given the choice to still hold me back a grade, but instead, I was moved up to grade 7, skipping grade 6. Soon I realized that you learn everything in grade 6 as I was struggling with all my classes. I'm not learning much. I graduated in grade 8 anyway, and was thrown into high school, where I would face the 4 worst years of my life. Not only at school, but at home too. I was picked on for being skinny, I circulated through different friends, I barely passed most of my classes, all while my parents were constantly fighting and my dad was mentally abusing my mom, me and my brothers, and physically abusing me and my brothers. I didn't know it then, but looking back, I was depressed and had a lot of pent-up anger. I took my anger out by pushing people away and getting into fights at school. I had various short-term relationships and meaningless flings. I grew increasingly self-conscious and insecure, was self-harming, had suicidal thoughts, and wore layers of clothing to hide my scrawny arms and legs. I had my first job as a cashier cashier at a grocery store and my second job as a hostess at a buffet. It was my last year of high school that I finally began to stop caring what other people thought about me. Once I finished high school, I was out of the house as much as possible. I wanted so badly for my parents to split, I wished for it every single day. I got 2 jobs, one as a barista and another as a meat packager at a factory. At the age of 17, I had saved up enough money for my own cell phone, my own dog, and my own bedroom makeover. I spent most of my time working or at my best friend's house. On my 18th birthday, I met my first love. I knew him all throughout high school, but I'd never seen him the way I did when I was 18. He was in my grade, but he was already off to college and I was still repeating some of my classes that I failed. After a month of seeing each other and a week of officially dating, I lost my virginity to him. I continued working as a barista for most of our relationship, while he worked at the grocery store across the street. We broke up many times and were known as the on and off couple. We threw house parties and then we would fight. We would go out on adventures and then we would break up. This went on for 5 years on and off, and in the middle of that, I went through my bar star days where all I did was drink and all I did was go out in order to forget about all my problems at home. I also met my second love, the toxic one. You guys might know of him as my abusive boyfriend. While my first love was 5 years with Mr. Wrong. Whether I was dating Mr. Wrong or not, though, I was having one night stands all the time. I was cheating on this person because he made me feel like that behavior was acceptable. I was trying to find myself, and in the middle of all of that, my parents split up. My dad left, and it was probably the best day of my life. No more screaming, no more fights, no more abuse, or so I thought. That's all my brothers had seen at home, so they turned into doubles of him. Not as bad, but I knew I had to get out. After finishing college, getting into the field, working at daycares, nannying, having a full-time job and a stable income, I ended up being manipulated by my dad to move in with him. During this time, I would be dating Mr. Wrong for the last time. The last year we spent together. My living conditions during this time I've already talked about before on my channel, and I would like to not talk about it again. But after 2 years of that, doing a lot of soul searching, a lot of therapy, relationship therapy, that ended up making me realize that I was in the wrong relationship then, that we weren't compatible, and so we broke up. I met the love of my life, my current boyfriend, and after a year of dating and getting a puppy together, I moved in with him. I was working at a daycare, he was working at an insurance company. We both wanted better for ourselves, so we both went back to school. We were really broke, we were struggling, but we made it through. 2020 was supposed to be the year that we would implement our studies into upgrading our jobs, but the coronavirus has other plans for us. So we're both back at a daycare, and he is back at an insurance company. But we know our time will come, and I'm so excited to see what's next. In a nutshell, that's the story of my life. I did leave out one detail, however, that I've been exploring and getting to know better recently that I am wanting to share with you guys soon. That video is just going to take me a little bit longer to film. It's a video I'm really nervous about and I feel very vulnerable about, but I know it's a video I have to put out, and I really hope you guys stay tuned for that one, because once that video is out, I will be 100% free. And I can't wait to share 100% of me with you. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give it a big thumbs up if you did. Subscribe if you haven't already because it's free, and I will see you guys next time.